I'm very happy to introduce Peggy. I have known her for a long time, and she's always doing different things in art. So, because she has had different galleries, founded galleries. She has taught, I think it's ceramics, and she's making different sort of art with painting, sculpture, installation. And so I think the best thing is she will talk about her life and her challenges, and she has had a lot. And thank you for coming, Peggy.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've known Annie for a long time, and back from Palos Verdes galleries, and she was with the Palos Verdes Art Center, right?
Yes, at the time.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
yeah, so we never really did anything really directly together, but kind of were around the same places at the same time. So yeah, I feel like Annie's always been there.
Peggy,
So
can I ask you before you start talking, are you open to questions during your talks, or would you prefer to wait until the end?
um, you know, I don't know what kind of questions
Okay.
because it's like I'm gonna do this more like timeline
Okay.
kind of way, and just sort of like if you do have a question you can ask it, but
Okay,
I'm
then
not gonna
I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves unless they're actually asking the question then. So,
I mean, is that gonna be
that's
yeah,
whatever works for you. That's whatever works for you.
I don't really care that much.
Okay.
I haven't done this enough to know what's the better way to do it, so
Okay.
I'll take your recommendation decision. So okay, should I start then?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, go ahead.
Okay, so to like make some sense out of my I guess is my life since around the 1990s is when my art life kind of expanded. And so I did all this gallery work and teaching, of course, art teaching. But I also was doing art all the time. And so I was trying to make a kind of a timeline of my gallery work and, my education, my work, and then a timeline of my art separately, So that's how I organized it. So I'm going to just go through it and maybe go faster through the gallery stuff because it's just sort of like what was framing my life at the time, because it was my work, but it was also art. And I learned a whole lot by being involved with all those shows. So here I go. Let's see. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, okay. This was the first gallery that I started in 1989, Minus Zero Gallery. And there wasn't much going on in the South Bay. This was in like Redondo Beach, Torrance. And so we got a lot of attention. We got a lot of media attention. So we ran this gallery and did mainly like social and political type work. That's what I was interested in. And I was joined by a partner, Joanne Gaines, and we got our nonprofit and did a nonprofit back then in between 1989 and 96, I think, or something like that. So we moved around. I started this after I got divorced from my first husband, and was given free space to do this. So anyway, so that was that. Oh. And so then I met Ben. I met my current husband, and he had kids, and I had a kid from my divorce. So obviously I had to get serious and step away from the art gallery business and I got a job at Miracosta High School teaching art and ceramics and AP, 3D, and all kinds of things. So, and did a lot of mosaics and things like that, murals and things. And then, like in 2006, I started a gallery again when my youngest daughter could drive. And so I started a gallery and went part-time teaching. This was Zask Gallery, and then it changed to the nonprofit. And this is an example of the gallery. I think this is one of the more, like just beautiful shows of for painters that, were different, but I think they just look gorgeous together. So this was Ruth Trotter, Margaret Lazari, Maggie Tennyson, and Virginia Katz. And this is Gail Werner. She was in a native show we had with native artists from all over the country. And this was her painting that I just fell in love with this painting. So I got this painting and I traded her one of my sculptures for it. So it's special. Then we moved from that Palos Verdes location to San Pedro. And this is one of the shows in San Pedro. It was called Ties to Modernism with Kristen Marvell, Nicolette Komunos, and Michael Todd. It's a beautiful gallery with those wooden floors. If you haven't seen it, that's a good place to show. My husband, in his show, he curated Skyline, and it was a 7-inch deep shelf that went all the way around the gallery, and he curated all the artists to, sculptors, assemblage artists actually, that could fit on that shelf. And it was fabulous. It was really fun. And did a little workshop, well, big workshop, hammers and nails and everything. These kids, so happy. They were just so great. I just love this picture. Then we had at the Loft, this was in 2016, right before the election. And we had Dear President was the exhibition. And I've got a ton of pictures. I can't talk about these shows, there's just too many. And then this was the last show at the Loft, and it was a student beach goth exhibition. One of my students from Maricosta, 10 years later, she wants to host this show. So the kids came from all over and they were just having a really good time. So this was this was the art, this was part of what led to getting me kicked out, so but you kind of can get into it though if you really listen to it after a while. So I got kicked out of the San Pedro location, and a friend of mine, the screens are covering it up on my screen, but Linda Jo's over in the right-hand corner. And this is the space she bought, and I got to run the nonprofit well, I changed it to South LA Contemporary. And we had some great shows that we met a lot of local people in that area. And on the right in this picture is Sharon Barnes, who was just she went back to school and to Otis and just completely changed her work, and she's just doing really well now. Well, she always was a good artist, but she's at her prime right now, I think. And this is the show that she curated. So these are her work is on that back wall, that big pink kind of form. And then I I don't have the names of all the artists that were in it, but. And this was an open mic that we had there. I just.
Instead of just fucking trees watching the seasons leaving instead of planting seeds for me to believe in.
And that was the young man that led this open mic that we had once a month. Really great. It was great. Protest in place, the Black Lives Matter. Sold it to Cam and not sold it, donated it. The county, LA County bought this show from us and donated it to the African American Museum. So that was kind of like pretty exciting. Drag show that we had. And this was a quilt project that we did during the pandemic. And then I stepped down and Linda Joe, the owner of the building, transformed it into Range Projects Gallery now. And they had a visit from the Compton Cowboys there and had a show about that. So here's my art influences. Alberto Giacometti. I love, you know, I really relate to his aesthetic, and Susan Rothenberg. It's one of my early pieces, about the only piece I can find an image of from you know, before the 90s. But I was into horses early on. Sculpture I called Burden, kind of represented my obsession with the horse form. And this is a tea house that I made out of paintings that I had put into a performance and were, you know, like kind of mutilated. So I built it into a sculpture and kind of sewed things back together and showed that. This was a ceramic piece that I did, but it also represents the health, major health thing I had in 2017. And this is a show in Japan that, because of that health issue, I didn't get to go, but my horse sculptures did. And so I've done, you know, kind of explored the form of the horse very much. It's a big part of my childhood. And also right after I went through the treatment for that health issue, I had this need to make a life-size horse. So I got a sculptor friend of mine, Kristen Marvell, and he helped me with the welding on this because it's pretty big. This was shown at Nomad this last time. You guys know Nomad? Or, well, no? Oh. Torrance Art Museum sponsors these big, elaborate like installations of every kind, like 5 floors of art for a weekend. He's been doing it for I think 3 years now. Oops, oh, there. So I kind of got into a dark phase and to a textural phase, exploring different kinds of materials. My painting using copper, you know, the oxidized copper. And then, do you guys have any questions? Oh, okay. Oops. Oh, it's echoing. Okay, that's better. So
everybody needs to mute.
Okay. So over 20 years, I taught ceramics at the high school level, and I started bringing home all the projects that never got finished, or never got glazed. If you've ever taken ceramics in school, there was a lot of students that went through there that, there was some like really good students, that really got into it, but there were some that just, like it's a place to do their homework kind of thing. So they didn't really care about, the art, so I would bring it home and build walls out of it. And so when I retired from the gallery business, I started focusing on my yard and my collections of things and started to try to make some order out of it. So this was the first step, very raw. Well, a lot of my work is very raw. But this was at Nomad, the Torrance Art Museum event. And then these are the pieces that I built out of the shards of my students' work. And I have this armature underneath that they kind of string onto. And this is in Baja, Mexico right now, in this big, really beautiful place called Sicut. And anyway, it's still there. It's been there for like it'll be there for 6 months. And I haven't gotten to see it other than when I installed it. So I was like, oh, wish I could go see it. And these are some wall pieces I started working with the shards, just cementing them together. And there's Annie and Olivier in front of one of my paintings that I had to do for accomplish a large canvas. This is in Korea. This is a group of artists that I'm working with currently. We do shows in Korea and here in different places. And we just finished one at Western Gallery in Koreatown. Yeah. This was in Korea, an installation that I did about the rain and the news, and I forget the title of it, but I worked with these twines that I got recycled from the horses. And now we're into this is Portuguese Bend. The left slide is like next door to me in the driveway. And the one on the right is Vanderlip's estate, who they were the people that established this area. So this is my art collage, kind of called Three Fissures, because the fissures are what start the land moving, and it splits and starts to drop or separate. So I did a lot of art. This is a large scale piece of detail about that. The right-hand image shows where this casting came from. Cast a pretty large fissure, and I just lined it with wire and poured plaster and cement, and it's showing the layers of the pavement from the old street and the clay layer and the fill layer and everything else that was in it. So there it is on exhibition at Range Gallery right now. I did some little tiny ones also, playing around with it. Oh, here's my video. Okay, you can't judge my video. I think this is the end. You can't judge the video because it's my first iTunes, is that what it's called? No, iMovie experience I've had. So I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. So there you go. So that's, how long did that take? Did I stop it?
There's a couple minutes, minute or two.
Oh, 7:30, yeah. So, the Beyond LA is that group of, friends that I that I've had for many, many years. And, we took a trip to Korea and we, transformed, this old, abandoned hotel up in the mountains. We each got our own hotel room to transform. And, so we were there for a couple of weeks and then we decided to, form a collective. And, we gave ourselves.
There's
a name.
no image. So sorry to interrupt, but there's no image.
Oh, yeah, because that's, yeah, there was just like a text that said Beyond LA at the end, but that's the end of my presentation. So if, you know, like I said, I didn't know if I should just focus on one thing or, I guess I'm just got too many things going on. So I don't know. Is there any
Stop
questions?
screen share.
I think a lot of people don't know that seeing as you're talking about the ground moving on Portuguese and you live on Palos Verdes, and I actually saw Peggy on the TV a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, I know that person. So even though Annie said in the next board meeting, like, oh yes, Peggy's going to be the next person, next presenter that we had, I'd heard of you before that. So so you're getting pretty well known.
Okay. Yeah. So.
You want to stop screen share if that's the end of your presentation, so we can.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. Now you can see. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to start with the question from the beginning. Why did you call the first gallery minus zero?
I think there was like a B1 gallery in LA at the time or something like that. Can't remember exactly, but it was a letter and a number, and I always loved that, that name. So, the -0 is kind of like, less than zero, or,
Nothing left.
a little bit
Nothing
zen,
left to lose. Yeah.
What?
Nothing left. I was wondering, it was like, we might as well open the gallery. There's nothing left to lose. -0.
Yeah, it's nothing left to lose. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can interpret it, but I let that be kind of flexible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? I don't know if you raise your hand or I can't, or just unmute yourself. And
Peggy,
Mm.
Peggy, I have a question because I'm
Yes.
exhibition chair for Women Painters West. It
Uh-huh.
sounds like you're extremely resourceful
Yeah.
in
Yes.
finding places to exhibit, and we are always looking.
Oh,
We
okay.
have a large population. We have 180 members
Oh,
actually,
wow.
and we do 3 exhibitions a year.
Uh-huh.
And I'm wondering, I wrote a few notes of some of the places you have exhibited, but I wonder if in your travels you have found anything you could suggest to us as a group
Mhm.
for an exhibition location.
Yeah. As like 170?
Well, generally, we have about 60 artists and
Oh.
between 60 and 80 pieces that we
Uh-huh.
show for
Mhm.
our shows.
Okay. Well, I would always recommend the Loft in San Pedro. It's not the most central location, you know, because it's at the end of the Harbor Freeway, the harbor. But it's a beautiful space, and they have always been more competitive in terms of how much they charge. You know, but they just changed their name to LA Harbor Arts, and they're kind of rebranding and all that. So I don't know, expanding. It might be a good time, you know, because they're getting a lot of attention right now.
What about the Torrance Art Museum? Are you super familiar with them? I
Not
know,
really. I mean, I know Max, and I've done. He's actually having a thing in December where you
Mass
could,
attack.
a mass
Mass
attack
attack.
thing is
Mm.
called, and you take political work, you know, out of reaction to the election, and it's a one-night thing at the Torrance Art Museum. But as far as getting a show with them, I don't know. I don't know. I've
Right.
never sent in a proposal.
okay, just wondered if you had any recommendations. We're always
Yeah.
looking.
But you know what you could do is the the Torrance Art Museum puts on like an art fair for artist-run organizations once a year, and it's called Trist. And
That
you
sounds interesting.
yeah,
wait,
and you
what is-
curate it yourself. And I think Annie's you did it when they were with
Yes,
Oka. Yeah,
yes. Mm.
Oka does it. I've done it.
wait, it's a 1 day?
It's a weekend, 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, it's
And
pretty intense.
it's great.
Diane, pretty
Yes.
intense,
You
but
meet a
it's
lot of people.
excuse me, yeah, a lot of people.
A lot of people like yourselves, you know, there's all these just eclectic groups of people that are artists and they're working together, and they're coming from all over LA and as well as across the globe, you know.
And what's the purpose though?
It's art.
I
It's
mean, you show or you just come and meet? You
yeah,
act-
you each, it's like an art fair. It's like it's in a big like 5-story office building, and there's, I think they use 3 or 4 floors. And each artist gets assigned either a room or a, you know, like an alcove or something. But you know, there's full on like gallery, you know, small
Yeah,
galleries.
I mean, that's not necessarily our style, but it sounds interesting to at least go to.
Yeah, you should go to it, and then you could see. It's pretty fabulous as far as networking with the LA art scene.
Really. What is it called again? I'm writing it down.
It's called TRYST, Trist.
I can send you the information when it's on,
Okay, that would be good.
Diane.
Okay,
Yes,
Annie,
because
that we could
I
let our
receive
members,
everything.
we could let our
Mm.
members know also.
Diane,
Yeah.
it's also a good place to find out about other galleries that you know you might want to look into further.
Yeah,
Okay, good idea. I will look,
yeah.
we will look into it. Lorraine,
Is
you
it
want to do that?
What?
I said you want to take that on? Okay, we'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like it happens in, was it September, I think? I can't remember when it was, but it just happened a few, you know, a month or 2 ago.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they
we'll look into it. Thank you.
yeah, okay.
Anyone else have any questions about Peggy's work? flipping through. Oh, Annie, go ahead,
Yeah.
Annie.
Yes, Peggy, I would like you to speak about your inspiration with the horses.
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one. Um, I, you know, grew up with horses and, so, I live in well, I don't know. I grew up with horses. What can I say? I'm really connected to them. And I live in a community, here in Portuguese Bend in Rancho Palos Verdes, where there are horses all around, horse facilities and riding clubs and things like that. So I see them all the time. And so I just love them. And now, I've kind of done my expressionistic, really pushing it around different ways. And now I always have this objective to go fully like I say non-objective or, so abstract that well, I shouldn't go into detail about what I'm trying to do. I don't even know what the question was now. Oh, about the horses. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm
because they
trying
are all
to just get the
they are,
essence.
your horses are not everywhere, but nearly everywhere in your art.
They're what?
In your art, we can
Yeah.
see horses nearly at each
Every,
piece of art. Not exactly.
yeah.
The last one with the rocks is not
Yeah.
the same, but
Yeah.
all before. So
Yeah.
you were inspired not only
Yeah.
because you have lived with them.
Yeah. And then it becomes an obsession to like get it, it's art. It just leads you and it just pulls you in all these different directions. And uh but you know what you want to see, and it just takes your life, takes your whole life. I don't think I'm
I was,
ever gonna
I was
find that.
I
Yeah.
was curious about the piece Burden, where you have a ceramic of a woman's head with the horse on top of it. Why
Mm-hmm.
did you feel that the horse was a burden?
That's a good question because I self kind of like thrash myself for being obsessed with horses. I try to stop it, it's like this habit. And so that was from a sketch, that I had just saw it in my sketchbook, and I thought, wow, that's a good one. And so it kind of became my mantra almost, like physical mantra. Yeah. And then I traded it with Gail Werner for her painting. And so that it had a lot of meaning. So to let her have that, it was like, it was such a part of my psyche, that went. I don't know if you guys relate to this kind of feelings about your work.
I'm sure everybody has one that they don't want to let go of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but you have to trust and you know believe that people will take care of your work. You know.
The little horses that were sent to Japan, what were they made of?
Oh, they were ceramic. I started making these little horses, and I'd put like these long nails as their legs and bend the nails, and they were very like primitive and kind of funny. And then I just kept going with that because people really liked them, and I had the galleries where I could sell them, small gift type art. And so then I started adding like I'd decide that they weren't the right proportion, and so I'd break off the head and to change, I'd start breaking pieces off of it and then adding things. And so it became almost like an assemblage built onto the ceramic base. So I did a whole lot of those. Those were like for years, but I didn't put many on here except that Japanese show. So because I feel like right now, and maybe I've always felt this way, but right now I think I'm ready to do what my art is ready to become, you know. And all of these other things I feel like have been like preparing me. So I feel really good about kind of going into a new feeling about the direction I'm going.
Do you have a horse now?
I don't own a horse, no. But you know, I have a dog and I take my dog for walks every day, and there are horses that live all around my house, you know, my route. So I have special ones that I talk to every day, and my dog likes to visit with them, and I know the rider, you know, the equestrians in the neighborhood, and so
Yeah.
I don't need to ride a horse anymore, you know.
Yeah.
I stopped riding, you know, when I was a teenager, and but I still love to be around them, yeah,
Yeah.
and look at them. Mhm.
I wondered, it's Kenshin. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Thanks. I just wondered if you have a call for the show that Max Presnell's having at the Torrance Art Museum in December
Oh,
for pieces about. Can you give it to Annie if you or do
yeah, I don't, it's not really a call. It's like on his Facebook page.
Yes,
And
I have everything. I can give
Annie
the
has?
oh,
thing.
you
Okay,
have
Yes,
it?
good.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he just puts the word out and then, you know, says,
Yeah,
anybody that
yeah.
wants to come on, you
Yeah.
know, that's what he says.
Yeah. I wondered how large the piece was you had at Naiad. Is it the large rock piece, the Fissure? How
Oh,
large a sculpture is that? Was that at Naiad?
was that at where?
Well, whatever. What is the name of this there at Torrance Art Museum? The weekend.
Oh,
A nomad. Mm. Nomad.
no,
Nomad.
not Nomad,
Nomad. Right.
Trist.
Oh, Tryst. That's the one
Yeah.
it was. Right. Yeah, I have that written
Oh,
down.
the big,
Well, how large though?
big fissure piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at, not at Trist, but at, Range Projects, which is in, South LA on Slauson and Crenshaw.
Oh, oh, okay. How large is it? I just wondered.
Oh, it's like, it's like about, 2 feet by 18 inches by 18 inches, something like that. It's, you know, it's really heavy. It takes 2 people to pick it up.
I'm fascinated by that. I think my thing was uh, geology in the college, right? And I just love
Oh,
fissures. And I studied the earth movement. I'm an LA basin native almost.
oh, really?
Yeah, I just loved that shift and I just wanted to thank you for that
Oh,
work. I really
oh,
appreciated that.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful. Yeah. Very earthy and yet somehow full of concrete and
Yeah.
humans, you know, at
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So I
That's
really
the
I
way
like
it
that so much. Yeah.
Oh,
So the other parts of that slide that you showed us, there were a lot of little pieces on the wall to the left. Are
yeah.
they individual pieces or are they all part of the?
Yeah, well, they were a grouping, but they were, you know, because this landslide had happened. It's not like our house is damaged or anything because we're already in the landslide area and our house is prepared for
Oh,
movement. And so, but a lot of other people are going through the land movement for the first time, and they're big multi-million-dollar homes overlooking the ocean are on slab foundations. And when the land shifts, it's close to the ocean.
Yeah.
And plus there's been tons of water and like drainage issues and all kinds of things. And then the house cracks, so our house is lifted on steel and connected to its, it's all one. Anyway, when that happened, this whole our whole community just turned into chaos, and all these machines and gigantic drills and like land movers and just gigantic, axle dump trucks and bulldozers and they closed down one of the streets, like collapsed, and everybody, it's just crazy. And so I did all that work as a way to just like face it. I had to get my hands into that fissure and make it into something, take control over it, because you're really not in control when all these things are happening around you.
There was one specific little piece that I really liked. It was just like a little piece of rock, but it had a tiny little fence on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that one.
Yeah. So I started, I used that wire, that mesh, to hang them on the wall and to put them into the concrete. And, the wire and concrete go really well together. And then I started seeing the creative potential of that mesh, and I really liked the way it looked with the gray cement and the silver mesh.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm still, that's an area that I still want to like refine a little bit and work on, take it a little beyond just emotional impulse. But yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I started talking, but I was muted, so now I'm not. Peggy, I really love that kind of earthy rawness that's in all of your work. So even though you're doing all these different things, there's this kind of visual and feeling theme that, runs through all of it. And I really like everything. And the rocks seem to be mirrored in the paintings. And, even though you're not painting rocks, you're still painting all that texture and color. And yeah, they're really great. Really great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's influenced by the setting that I live and work in, and just surrounded by, hills and trees and dirt and all, just constant. And then with the movement, then I think about water. I think about, where's the water going to come? I think about, the earth and the animals and the, anyway, yeah. So it's interesting that you said that, because when I, put this, I started going through my back work, and try to make some sense out of it. And I came away saying, I'm kind of a messy artist or something, it has, how can I describe this, what you just said,
Well, they're heartfelt. They're very heartfelt without being, fussy.
Yeah.
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 My work is fussy. Your work is like really just putting it out there.
In your face. Yeah. Well, I think I realized that work that gets, is too self-conscious, that it loses its kind of spirit of being alive. And so I'm trying to, not not control my work and to kind of react to my work, you know, to start, well, I started in, of course, with, you know, some thoughts or just some impulses or inspiration, and then just let it lead me. And whether it's messy or earthy or, you know, like it's kind of loose and not like highly integrated, you know, the forms and things. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for that.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? Questions? Nope, I don't see any hands up. I don't see anybody talking. Okay, well, I think this concludes the evening. Thank you very much, Peggy. That has been a delight to have you talk about your work. And yes, you can unmute yourself to applaud.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks very
I really
much.
appreciate it.
And I'm sure I will be letting you know that when the video's up on YouTube, so you can
Okay.
use it for as you
Okay.
wish. Okay.
Thank you.